Hello and welcome to Heart of the Matter. And welcome again, Amed, to the Heart of the Matter. Lovely to have you here. We're in for quite an interesting one tonight, actually, and stuff and all that. We're going to be talking about self-love, mind games, and breaking the ancestral loop, which will be quite an interesting topic tonight and stuff. So, yeah, it's great to always have you here, brother, and it's an honour, and yeah, it'd be nice to see how things flow for the evening as we get into this tonight. So welcome and much love to you.
Much love to you, Kelvin. Always a pleasure to be here.
Mm-hmm.
I love our talks, and we get to always dive deep into these subject matters, and so yeah, always a joy to be here. Always.
Yeah, it's exciting, and yeah, it's one of those sort of things that I thought would be nice to bring up because from my own experiences, and I suppose you've had your experiences, and this will hopefully help other people here tonight to get a better understanding, because my heart is obviously about psychology and stuff and all that, and I feel that's a very important topic that a lot of people want to avoid, and for me, I think that's one of the major topics is psychology. If we want to see real change, it's psychology that's going to do that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to how the conversation goes tonight. So yeah,
absolutely, yeah. And like you said, it's always been that, isn't it? We talk about psychology. I mean, the Hermetic traditions, or should I say the Hermetic ancestors, none of this used to be part of their, they just knew that these were states of being and states of wholeness. Because they understood the principles of creation, they understood the symbolic meaning of the tree of life, and they embodied that through and through. It's only when the parasites, the enemies of life, came through. Obviously, there's many topics we can kind of go into, but trauma is definitely the main reason that we are in the state we are, because somewhere along the lines, these great ancestors we had were wiped off the face of the earth. Yet their teachings and I guess maybe even the surviving works survived regardless of that. We're very fortunate, because it's kind of like, despite even if we look at it in a psychological term, if we have trauma and we have amnesia as a result of that trauma, that memory is still there of that trauma. It's just that it's been locked away, and because of that, the splitting of the psyche happens, and multiple fractions of that self is distorted, and some of it is true. So that's why there are moments in our lives where we're actually true to ourselves, and there's moments we're not at all. And yeah, it's a great subject matter to go on today. So where do you want to start? Do you want to go from?
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, I just wanted to share a little bit about Michael Tsarion's work, and I want to just let people know that there will be a link below for people to check out his work, which is about the Dragon Mother. I think I've watched it once or twice, and I will go back and watch it again, and stuff. But yeah, I think that's a great link to have underneath, because it relates to all the stuff that we're going to be talking about and sharing tonight. So yeah. That's yeah.
Well, it's the ancestral loop again. It ties in with the mind games and the ancestral loop, and that is that what I love about Michael Tsarion's work is he really kind of dissects all these great thinkers, but also gets to the crux of the source of the problem, and that is terrible mothers, because. And this is not not me trying to be sexist in any way, or in any shape or form trying to just kind of blame, because there's some beautiful and wonderful mothers out there. So this is not a sort of what am I trying to say? This is not like a full generalization of I'm attacking the female race here. because it's not. And if you haven't understood that, then you don't even understand Michael Tsarion's work, let alone my own exploration into these great subject matters. So yeah, going into terrible mothers, we have a loop of that. You know, because as Michael purports, he's saying that it's the ultra feminization of society that is the problem of today. And how was that formed? And you know, he alludes to the female Illuminati, who are really behind you know, all that's going on, because the female psychology is the least explored as well. And they obviously know the psychology inside out of the female. You know, it explains how easily they can sell their consumerist culture to our women. And because 80% of marketing is directed at women, a lot of the female form is used to sell even to the men, and less, you know, if you, especially when you look at marketing towards women, you'll see a lot less men used in there. I don't know if you've noticed, but they will use the female to attract the male in their marketing. And this is the power of the feminine, and you know, this is the thing of it's so embedded, because it comes back to mothers. Why mothers? Because mothers are the ones that give birth to both men and women, as Michael talks about. You know, there's a big responsibility on mothers, because those first, what is known in psychology, and those who don't know, is the Oedipus stage. And what Otto Rank also talks about is the stage of when they are even pregnant with when they first get babies, you know, the sperm first goes into the womb. You know, at that even at that stage, what's going on to that seed of life, you know, what is being communicated and fed into its neurons and its you know, nervous system that's being created out of that, you know, because we're all trees, right? We're all trees, and you know, you've got to be careful what you feed that tree. And if you're feeding it you know, the wrong nutrients, the wrong minerals, what is going to happen, that the nervous system is not going to come out correctly, and that manifests in disease, you know, babies born deformed, and so all manner of things, you know, let alone the psychological damage. A lot of the common theme we seem to be seeing more and more as modern times press on. You know, we're having more, you know, autism and so on, you know, due to the vaccinations and all these other, you know, other genetic modifications that go on top of that. But anyway, just going back to the ancestral loop. So the ancestral loop, terrible mothers, right? You know, it starts there. It all starts there, because it's in the home before the kid, you know, the girl or the boy. It's their relationship with the mother that determines their adulthood. You know, I think it was even one of the Rothschilds who said, you know, give me a child before the age of 7 and I'll show you the man, or I guess the woman as well. So it's more, they know this, and this is what we're talking about here. And to break this ancestral loop, we have to touch upon these subjects that Michael Tsarion has done such a wonderful work on. But what I love to do is just to simplify some of these works that he's talked about, and just make it easier for most people to understand, because it really is a lot of book reading to get to you know, to get to these conclusions, or you know, very accurate, at least very accurate conclusions. And that is, you know, again, going back to the mother. And so what happens at the mother, if the mother has already had trauma from her previous mother, right? And if the mother is raising the daughter to hate men in this sort of feminist programming that we see, the program of the feminism that's going on, and is seeing the father of the male. And by the way, a lot of these females attract really, really bad men, you know, terrible men. But sometimes it's the opposite, actually, because sometimes, you know, you'll get a lovely father and a terrible mother. and the reverse situation. No, I'm not even trying to say that. It's, again, we're just talking about terrible mothers specifically, not the good mothers, the godly mothers. All right, the mothers who have had the animus in them integrated, who celebrate the solar world, as Michael Tsarion talks about, which is the masculine within, as is the masculine without. You know, men built the cities. Men went to wars. I mean, not to say, you know, of course the wars are all manipulated and so on, but in terms of who are there in the front lines, and it is the men are put there first. You know, we're the first form of defense in nature. This is natural law. You know, we are the defenders of the weak, the men are. And you know, the women are is the foundations. They're the foundations of society, and they have a real responsibility to make sure that those foundations are strong. But what they've done is they've completely wiped the memory of I mean, you know, especially aimed at women. This is what I've always said, the mind control is mostly aimed at women, because they know that those women will raise the children, whether male or female. And that's where the problems and the psychosis and the neurosis will start. So, you know, these are things to break that loop. Okay, to break the loop. I mean, we've talked about shadow integration. We've talked about the anima and the animus, and its importance of bridging that towards the shadow and the self, really, ultimately, because it's about becoming whole again, not fragmented pieces of ourselves. And, you know, today's subject is also talking about self-love. Now, how can you know self-love if you don't even know yourself? Right? So, I mean, yeah. This is the thing. People think they know love because they were given a certain version of love that their mothers gave them, which their mothers before them gave them, and their mothers and their mothers and their mothers. And it goes back.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I'd just like to just put something in there, actually. You know, a lot. I think this is it. A lot of people out there, you know, they talk about love and the light and stuff like this, and you know, from my point of view, is like, you know, so you're saying that it's okay to love somebody if they treat you like crap. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, no, you know, this is it. It's what I've begun to realize, is that actually at the end of the day, I'm not here. You know, real love is when you start to really know yourself and know how you're being played or being manipulated or whatever. And yeah, so that's just what I wanted to add in there, you know, because it's so easy to be under that sort of spell, you know. But once you start to see things for what they really are, you start to think, no, I'm not playing these mind games anymore and stuff. And you know, you start to realize, you know, stand there and be strong and say what you need to say.
And see, this is the thing. You touched upon such an important part, and this is what it really comes back to is, you know, this is something that Jay and I have had a sort of download, a message from the divine self or divine one, you know, that all the problems of humanity comes down to one thing, and that is the wounded child. Because all the trauma starts already playing out from the moment of conception, you know, and like I said, it's already kind of determined. The moment, if the mother's already in a toxic state in herself, doesn't even really know herself, is not individuated, is playing out her ancestral trauma, her ancestral wounds onto her child. And we wonder why society is so messed up today, you know. Well, it comes back to the child. And okay, how do we heal from that? How do we go to a place of, okay, Amed, okay, Michael Tsarion, okay, great psychologists of the past, Carl Jung and Wilhelm Reich and the Helen Minnan and the Melanie Kleins and the great Otto Rank and so many great others who've kind of delved into the human psyche and have really unearthed these things. The answers are there. You gotta do your homework. Because the thing is, we live in an era now where we have distractions everywhere. Technology, our lives are much more, the way the system is shaped the mainframe of our lives is for us to be busy bees, right? So we don't have time to gather all the books, sit down and read and study and do great work, because we're too busy trying to survive in this crazy world that's so insane that you don't even have the right to have free water, free energy, free shelter in this beautiful earth that we were given, without not even land. So of course, you know, the system is set up, it's rigged from the moment you're born, into this era anyway, that it's already against you. It's already working against you. And so we have to create the time. We have to make the time, because if we don't, we are heading into dire straits. Because it's only through, you know, and it takes one, you know, it takes one to create that domino effect. And if there's even a few hundred of us that are really acting out of authenticity of our true selves, who know thyself, right, who are truly individuated, then we become that domino effect for others, and then others will become more individual, and they live more happy lives, and they have a more powerful effect on society, because most of these people are drones. Think about it, right? They're on NPC programming right now, and they really need inspiration, and we have to embody that uniqueness and the unique quality of individuation, because when they see that, they see there's something different, there's something, because the controllers of life already know this. That's why they put these celebrities up there, because it's hero worship. They don't want you to look within for the hero, they want you to look outside themselves for the hero.
Yeah, it's all about distraction. Anything that they can do to distract you from knowing yourself, then that's it. They've got you in that loop.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Absolutely. That's it. So the essence is to work on the child, where trace back, you know, some people don't even feel, a lot, even women. I mean, I've seen there's quite a lot of them don't even feel. What I mean is feel authentically. I'm not saying they don't feel anything. I'm not purporting to that, but what I'm saying is even men, I mean, I'm talking men, women, both, we are wounded children. And if we don't heal that wounded child, we are fallen. We are the fallen ones. We are the fallen angels. We don't get those angles of light anymore. You know, when you see children, they're so pure, and you see their state of play, the life in their eyes, right? Because you can see them truly alive. And then come along parents, they feed them junk food, they feed them all that, and you see that light slowly dwindling away. When they're no longer even looking up, they're just too busy even looking at their screens and their iPads. And you can bring in the light and love and light and all that, you know, and you're enjoying it while your kid is already having the iPad, watching whatever that you're not even watching, just so they can babysit, so the technology can babysit your children, when there is such a massive responsibility. And this is the problem with city living. You know, cities are not made for family life. It's that simple. If you want a family, a healthy family, you have to have a community. It takes a village to raise a child. But anyway, going back, before we kind of, you know, create many threads into different areas, just going back to self-love, you know, and that is healing the inner child wound. Where in your childhood did your mother, I guess even some people with fathers, because some fathers are mothers, if that makes sense. There are single parent homes. So it's important to also acknowledge that too. But we're mainly focusing here on terrible mothers. where did that come in? Where did that lack of acknowledging you as a living being come in? Because a lot of parents don't realize they do that to their children. Shut up, be quiet. We hear all this verbal abuse, and it doesn't have to be physical. This is merely even just the tongue. The work of the mother's tongue is enough to wire in a lifetime of trauma.
This is it. I mean, a lot of people think, oh, it's physical. It's like mental abuse as well.
Massively.
Yeah. And psychologically, it does damage. If
So yeah, just going into that. If I just share my screen here quickly, because I want people to realize some of these things, and we're not just talking. Let's see. Can you see that? So
okay.
Can we see that? Yep.
Yeah, that's great.
So if we read this out, so people will do anything, no matter how absurd, in order to avoid facing their own souls. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. Carl Jung, Psychology and Alchemy. So we're giving you references here. We're not asking, again, this is for you to go and research, to make time for, these things, so that you can investigate this yourself, and get to a point where you're able to do the discerning for yourself. Because what works for me doesn't not necessarily is going to work for you, because you have your unique life. But we're going to give you the certain tools that will help you sharpen those tools to your unique circumstances in your life, so that you're able to heal yourself, and also you're able to move forward with your life towards individuation. And because this is the biggest weapon, and I don't even like to use the word weapon, but this is the biggest weapon we can ever create against the controllers and the enemies of life. Because once we're individuated, what then? Well, we have healthy families, healthy children, healthy communities, healthy friends. Everything becomes thriving, as was intended in this beautiful garden we call Earth. So, so going back to the quote, it's, people will do anything.
Beautiful quote. Beautiful.
Yeah. So people will do anything, as Carl Jung says, to avoid facing their own souls. And, one doesn't become enlightened by imagining figures of light. It's only shining the light into the darkness. So you have to go into those dark places in your life to really shine out what's in that darkness. And people go throughout their whole lives, especially these new ages, right? Using yoga and all this sort of stuff. Michael talks about this as well in great depth. But, using all these distractions and new age tools, which, by the way, the enemies have given them, right? The enemies of life, they've given them that, these parasites, and they've installed the parasite into the brain, into the human mind. So it's already in our mind. So how do we get rid of a parasite? Well, you have to identify that it's there in the first place. Otherwise, how are you going to get rid of it? So, you have to go into those dark places in your life. Where did the trauma happen? Face your parents, face your mom and face your dad. Because if you are going to continue playing the child-parent dynamic, master-slave dynamic, you're already doing the job for them. Their job is done. They don't even need to do anything. You're on an autopilot program for them. You're doing them the favor already. And you're going to find all the distractions, these figures of light, right, that you're looking for, to not face your true soul. Because you can't find the true soul, because genuine, authentic emotion and feeling doesn't come out without identifying that true self. And Bruce Lee is a great example of this. You know, look at his expression, and he lived such a short life. But I think that's why I feel that he was assassinated, because he was a danger to the establishment, to Hollywood, especially. You know, because he had a unique, authentic expression. He was individuated. His expressions were so unique. And how often do we see that today, by the way, that are unique expressions in people? We don't. Everyone's plain block Jane and Joe, right?
Yeah.
And we don't see any authentic expression in people, you know, real connection and feeling, you know, none of that.
Yeah.
And without that genuine, authentic expression, we can't, you know, we stop growing. We're automatons for the machine. And so yeah, we have to go to those places, and it starts with childhood. It starts in the Oedipus stages, and you have to go to that place. Where were you mentally abused? And it could be even subtle, for all you know, because your mom could be the non-shouting type, the non-aggressive type, but she could be saying the same mental abuse in a very calm and cold, calculated manner. So you've got to find that, you know, what is the relationship with your parents? How is your dynamic? Do you see yourself as you know, this is the master slave thing again, as a lesser to them? Is there a hierarchy going on here? Especially with a mother, is there a matriarchy going on there on top of you? I'm not saying matriarchy is bad or good. I'm not taking patriarchy. This is just about, are you a slave to your parents? Because if you are, the trauma is there and you haven't dealt with it. And for the daughters and the boys, they haven't had the dragon fight, as Michael Tsarion talks about. And it really is up to the individual to go there. And if they have fear, well, fear is only going to get you to nowhere, really. It's going to keep you in the loop. That's it. So good luck to you on that, you know. That's all I can say. That's so it. Yeah. So you know, we have to be on the inner work now, because if it's not done now, you're gonna, as Henry David Thoreau says, you know, you're gonna go to the grave with a song still left in you. What is that song? The song of the soul that is you, that is the child. Because at one point you were a child and you were you. There was none of this division of the psyche anymore. Division of the psyche happens after the age of 7, because all the damage would have been done up until the age of 7. So then it starts to play out at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and into the teenage years. You have a sort of chance during the teenage years to have the dragon fight, because that's the rebellious stage. You know, we all know this common theme in teenagers, right? We were all there once upon a time.
I've been there.
Yeah. So we're all rebellious at one stage. So if we haven't used that rebelliousness to face and really point out the flaws of our parents and the bullying or the master slave dynamic, then you know, you're going to have to do that in your older stages. But this is not a race, by the way. This is not a race. You know, everybody's come into this life to find their meaning of being here. That's what Carl Jung also talks about. You know, the meaning of being, finding the meaning in the being. Yeah. And how do we find that meaning without knowing the soul itself? So the soul is the essence of all of it. And once you're able to untangle the cobwebs around that beautiful lotus flower, that wise soul that's been here many times before, by the way, you know, it knows everything. The soul knows everything. It's the wisdom, and it's the child, you know, and it's hinted in the Bible, you know, the Son of God, the sun as in the sun, the light, because we're all suns, we're all stars, sisters, brothers. It's all ending with ARS, stars, because we're stars, and then we're suns. We're the sons of God. That includes women and men together. Suns, as in shining lights. As in, if we don't see that, that we are divine in ourselves. And by the way, this is not saying that I am God or that you are God. All right, there's a whole new, again, this is a warping of the word. Even that word God is such a warped, so it's almost become such a predefined word that people actually don't really understand. So that doesn't make me superior to you because I'm a God, and no, it's not about that. That we are sons of God, children of God, children of the divine, children of the source, children of the light, right? The real light.
Knowing who we really are.
Yeah. And once we know who we really are, then and the you can't be the expression of spirit in the material world, in matter, without being individuated. You've come here to be a unique expression of the divine. Of that source, of that, the source is the spirit that creates the matter, and it's molded. What do you mold? I mean, it even says in the Bible and the Quran and so on that man and Adam was molded out of clay. Well, that is the clay, but we've come here to mold that because we're made in that image, if that makes sense. But again, there's certain teachers that will go not in his image, like John Lamlash. He will talk about certain things that in his view it's not the case. It's it's the mother, which is, he's not saying anything new, by the way. This is something that ancient Kemet or ancient Egypt, the mother was known as Canut or Ma'at. There was another goddess of Ma'at, and Canut is the mother sky, the womb, because everything comes out of the womb. All this womb symbology, because we're all born of a womb. That's the cosmic womb, the cosmic egg, right? So we're using this as symbolically as a way of understanding creation and why we're here. So and that's why we have phallic symbols in ancient Egypt as well, the obelisks, and obviously they have further meaning in terms of its technological uses as well, but the phallic symbol has always been there. You can't separate sex and religion. They're just as sacred. They're both just as important. But obviously the enemies of life know this, by the way. So they keep you separated, and that's why the monotheistic religions suppress sexuality, which is another whole subject in and of itself. But just to go back and just share another quote here for our viewers. The greatest tragedy of the family is the unlived lives of the parents. Right? The greatest tragedy is the unlived lives of the parents. So if our parents are already not really living their lives, what a tragedy. Because they're raising more zombies, because they're unlived. Unlived, what does that mean? It means dead. You're dead.
It goes down the ancestral lines, just goes on and on and on, doesn't it? The trauma. Yeah.
Carl Jung knows about this. He knew this because he studied this. He studied the human mind.
Yeah.
And he saw so many cases of children from parents that are not really living out their lives, that have suppressed themselves. They've suppressed their emotions. They've suppressed their traumas. And out of that come traumatized children by default. And we see the rampant abuse of the body by overeating and stuffing. We see all these types of neurotic behaviors, stuffing the body so the body can't feel, so they become an addiction to foods. Alcoholism, rampant again, just to numb the body again. It's because what does alcohol do? It numbs. You know, it was used as an anesthetic as well once upon a time. So it does numb, and it's there to numb the nerves, so you don't feel. What is it you don't want to feel? You don't want to feel the terrifying nature of your soul.
This is it, isn't it? It's about, you know, I think there's a Carl Jung quote about, you know, that we all wear masks, and we do, you know,
Boy, oh boy, does that play
you
out
know,
today?
you know,
Literally.
and yeah, and
Yeah.
this is it, and this is what I'm beginning to understand more, you know, as I'm, you know, on my own personal journey, is that, you know, it's almost like you can't live that lie anymore. It's almost like this inside of you starts to wake up, you know, and and you start to realize who you really are, and that's just what I wanted to say. So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you've nailed it there, because, you know, it's and this is the thing. I mean, you saw the millions and millions of people during lockdown who wore masks. Well, those are the very same people that wear masks every day, before they even wore the literal mask. I mean, they're telling you this in your face. This you know, this divine, whether it is divine or not, but, you know, it's like this simulation we're living in, right, is already revealing the glitches in the matrix. Right, the matrix they've created, which is this false city culture life they've created in this world, making you think that's the world. You know, look at it. They're in your face every day. Every day, people who wear these false masks, and, you know, I'm not saying to do away with the ego. Again, an integrated ego, you know, the one that's integrated themselves, the ego is just, we need the ego because I can't talk to you now and express myself without that ego.
That's it.
So it's an integral function of the human mind, is of the brain. So, but the super ego, no, that's another thing altogether. That's the that's the Superman. That's the one that thinks they're indestructible. That's the arrogant one that doesn't want to be wrong. That's actually the godly state, the false godly state, right? Of the human brain, the arrogance we see in people that won't change their mind about this, the narrative or whatever is going on. You know, the truth behind the crazy reality we live in.
Or even if someone's, you know, like two brothers, or a brother or sister, you know, they might have something they need to talk about, you know, rather than the super ego coming in to actually just sort of sit there and think, well, I'm just gonna see and weigh this up here and see if there is actually anything in this, you know, rather than the super ego going in there, you know. So it is again, it's just you know, because sometimes, you know, the super ego will come in there when actually they might have something that's actually a valued thing that they need to share, you know. So
absolutely,
that's another important thing. So
I mean, it'd be good to get an understanding of what the superego is, how it's actually defined, because, you know, it's important we get the definitions of these things, because people might get lost not knowing what is the ego, what's the superego. And for those of you who know, I had Lonica on my last podcast on planetary intelligence, and she was wonderful, and she did this great book. I'm not sure why it's not available in her on her website, but it was a really good book. It was about the Jungian dictionary. She had the Jungian dictionary on there, defining you know, all the Jungian terms. So I'm just going to quickly just give people a quick insight of the superego. I'm not sure whether she's put the definition there. Actually, I'm just going to quickly just see if she has. And if not, so I mean, just to know what the ego is. The ego is part of your is the part of your consciousness. It's a part of your consciousness. It's the image that you hold of yourself, and thus it's the opposite of your shadow. It is the part that cares about status. It's about the appearances you have, the image of the image of yourself that you're desperate to hold. It's the ego part that gets hurt when you're rejected by someone. That's the ego. It's the part that doesn't want to admit it's done something wrong. The ego always needs stability. The ego is the voice that tells you, I would never do, believe, say, think, something like that, while the shadow disagrees. Right? Mm-hmm. And just to have a more kind of Jungian definition of the superego. So the superego, it's really, I mean, we'll probably go with the Melanie Klein maybe definition of it. It's an internal structure or part of the self that that is the internal authority that reflects on the self, makes judgments, exerts moral pressure, and is the seat of conscience, guilt, and self-esteem. So in Kleinian thinking, the superego is composed of a split-off part of the ego, into which is projected death instinct fused with life instinct, and good and bad aspects of the primary and also later objects. So that's the superego in Klein's, this is Melanie Klein, by the way. Mm-hmm. The superego starts to form at the beginning of life rather than with the resolution of the Oedipus complex, as Freud theorized. And we talked about Oedipus being the age of, 0 to 7, right? Or 3 till 7 or something like that. If I remember, there's different, views on that. But the Jungian definition, so that's the Melanie Klein definition. Just to give it like a simple thing, it's the best way to describe the superego, just from my own reflections, the superego is the part that masks your self, your true self, that makes it believe that it's the false self is the superego. It's the self that gets created during trauma.
Okay.
Because the divine child dies the moment it's not acknowledged. So, it's the fallen angel myth that's playing out, by the way, that we see in all religious myths and so on, even in ancient ones, even in South American ones as well. It's in the psyche. So what happens is that you're divine, you're whole, you're a child. Satan became Satan the moment that it thought that God frowned, the moment that Satan thought God frowned upon it because it made Adam and Eve. Because what is Adam and Eve? They're the child of God, right? Mm. So let's look at Satan as a psychological definition and a symbol of the psyche, as opposed to a literal being that goes around, telling you naughty things and to do bad and evil things, right? So what happens? See, superego gets created because the superego is Satan, in my view, because Satan becomes jealous of the child. Mom comes along and dad, they come along, say you're lesser than. Then Satan gets created because Satan wants to be God, right? Satan wants to be the one mightier than God himself, God himself, right? Isn't that the point? But we know that in the mythos, Satan is the fallen one. He's the false one, right? So we're just talking psychologically here, symbolically. People may have different views on Satan and Lucifer and all these other concepts, but let's just use these as psychological definitions for now in the psyche. So superego, Satan, wants to control everything, wants to be the creator of everything, but it can't because it copies everything. There's nothing authentic about the superego, because it's not authenticity in of itself, it's false. It's a fake construct of the traumatized mind. Does that make sense? So, so it's the fake construct of the mind, of the psyche, due to trauma, right? It started to hate the image of the divine child, the Son of God, the Son, right? Why? Because it thought there's nothing good and worthy about the Son, the divine one, the Neo, the inner child. That is the soul. That is you. You are unique. You've been created unique. You look at children, each child is unique. I guarantee you. And the older they get, and the superego forms, they become a copy of everyone else, because they lose that divine spark in them. They lose touch with it. It's still there, but they become so numb, so numb. You know, through various other things playing out through this trauma. So that superego then runs your whole life thinking it's you. You think that you are your superego. Because the superego doesn't have humility. It doesn't have the modesty and the humility and the humbleness.
It's like a trickster.
It's a trickster. Yeah. It's
a trickster, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the parasite, by the way. Right? It's a parasite. What do most parasites look like when you put them under a microscope? They look like worms, right? Right? The serpent symbology here. Or should I say snake symbology more than serpent? Because there's difference between the serpent, because the serpent is not necessarily evil either.
No.
But we're looking at the more corrupted version of that mythos. Because serpent can be both good and evil. It's actually there's two duality of negative and electromagnetism, if you want to get into Santos Panacci and all these other symbolisms, but let's just stick with the psychological terms.
Yes.
So that is the part of your psyche, the superego, that runs your whole entire life, that makes you think that it's you, that is your true self. And you really want to love that self, right? But it's not a self, it's a superego. But you can't wrap your head around it, because you can't be yourself until you've healed the trauma, the childhood trauma. Because only when you're allowed to feel the pain and the grief of that pain that your parent caused you, are you able to truly heal and become self again and truly love yourself. Because loving yourself, again, there's this pseudo love that Hollywood gives us, right? We see that every day, right? We have this concept of love. We're given this concept of love, but we've all felt it. We've all felt love, but we can't define love. As many poets have tried so many times, you can't define love, because love is God. Love is the divine. Love is the source of everything.
You can't put it into words, can you?
You can't put it into words. You can't.
No.
It's the creator. He created everything, or evil, good, bad, all of it. This whole stage, this whole existence, the consciousness. But we can't reach Eden, right? Go back to the garden, because this is the garden, right? Which is the heart, which is the green. And Eden is the heavens. Eden, you know, the garden in the heavens in a way, because from the heart up, the higher realms are the heavens, there's the sky. There's where the Heavenly Father lives. Mother Earth, Father Sky, the dualities. And you can't be a fully integrated human, man or woman, is better to use that word, without the mother, the inner mother and the inner father. the inner masculine, the inner feminine integrated. And by healing that inner child, by going deep into that trauma that was there, that was first caused by the Oedipus stages of when you were not acknowledged as a living being, because you were so belittled, you had to become the slave of your parents. And it's so evil. The thing is, they don't even recognize the evil in themselves, by the way.
It's buried on this. It's all buried in the subconscious.
It's the ancestral. It's the ancestral trauma, the ancestral loop that we're talking about.
Yeah.
And this is what Carl Jung's quote is about. You can't imagine beings of light. You've got to shine that light in the darkness. There is the darkness. It's right there, staring at you in the face. It's in your family. Well, there you go. Oh man, we've been trying to solve the problem of what's caused the controllers to, control, and get to power. Well, there you go. They knew what they were doing. They had to go into the families. They had to go and affect the moms, the women. And in turn, all the bad men came raised by bad women, and the bad girls. And on it goes, and on it goes. And we have these crazy societies all around the world, who are just, who knows? I mean, I'm not going to think, but just looking at the psychological concept of it, because I was once upon a time asleep, but I was fortunate enough to take that, I mean, you shouldn't even take a red pill or a blue pill, but to really wake up into the consciousness, to realize that I'm more than just this, this flesh, but also to honor the flesh, because it's part of creation. It's spirit manifest. See, a lot of people who are spiritual like to just be in these non-bodily forms, right? They just don't abandon their bodies completely. They just think there is no worth in them. It's like, they go to the other extreme of non-materialism. And again, it's about the balance of spirit of matter together.
Yeah.
That's what it truly means to be spiritual. It's not.
Yeah. I mean, if I could just add on to that, it's almost like alignment. People want to attain this alignment, and stuff, and it's just like there's no alignment to attain, because we're how can I put this? I'm trying to, it's an ongoing journey. So there's nothing to attain. You're just living it right now in the present moment all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's sort of how I my sort of like interpretation of it, and every day, every moment of that day, you're just living your experience, every day.
Absolutely. I mean, this is what Wilhelm Reich, I think that touched upon it. Don't quote me on this. Michael Tsarion knows a lot better, and I recommend people to, if you have the cash, do go and sign up to Unslaved, and listen to his many presentations and lectures with David Whitehead and many other guests that he's had, if you want to kind of get into these deeper subjects. But is there something to attain? There's always something to attain, in the sense that there is only one thing to attain in this life, and that is yourself, your sovereignty, your soul. That is the only one thing that you need to attain in this life. Once you've attained that, everything else in life makes sense and has meaning.
Yes. Yeah. It's like as you're saying that as well, because there was something I wanted to bring up earlier as you were talking earlier on. It's funny. It's a quote from the Bible. Not that I haven't read the Bible in years and years and years, but but I've felt it inside for many years, and that is I'm in this world, but I'm not really a part of it. It's like, so I'm in this world, but I'm not really a part of it. In other words, a part of the matrix system. I see it for what it is. But also within that, I'm not like, fooling myself within that. Because there's plenty of work to do in me. And that will go on and on until my last breath, and then it will still carry on. It's an ongoing process.
The key thing to remember here, though, Kelvin, this is the key, right? what do children do? They play.
That's it. This is it. Yeah.
If you're not playing,
Mm.
then what are you doing here?
Yeah, and
Because
and
if
so,
you're always
yeah,
serious all the
yeah,
time,
yeah, yeah,
well, I mean, this is the thing. They don't
yes,
want us to be grown children. Well, I mean,
mm,
with great minds.
yes, mm,
So
mm,
I'm not saying that, you know, to be a child is to be completely docile from
mm, mm,
knowledge. No, you can have
mm,
the knowledge, but also
mm,
be a child. My most
mm,
creative moments in my life is when I'm in that state of that
mm,
child's consciousness, that soul consciousness.
mm, mm, mm.
All the great work that comes out of me is through that.
It's like people take life.
You know?
It's like I mean, I've done it myself. When people take things too serious all the time, and it's like I'm learning. I'm learning to just lighten up on things a lot more.
Hmm.
You know, and that really helps me. You know,
Yep.
to just lighten up. You know, and
Yep.
enjoy things a lot more and stuff. So yeah,
Satan's always serious. Super ego's
yeah,
always serious.
yeah.
How are you not
Mm.
taking this seriously? Huh?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just playing because I've realized that I'm more than just
Yeah.
a machine. That I'm actually part of. My consciousness is beautiful,
This is it.
and that the soul is
Yeah.
beautiful, and the inner child is beautiful.
Mm. Mm. That's the word, humor. Finding humor in things. And that really helps me to find humor in things. I mean, I've got to say it. The other morning I was out there and they were painting the sky. I went, hello, NWO. Hello, NWO.
I see you.
Yeah,
I see you.
Yeah. Hello. And as I said, I feel I'm just really inside. It just it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
Just put the one-eyed triangle on their skies and their chemtrails. Say, I see you.
That's it. Yeah. That's it.
I mean, all this means is masculine. All this means is feminine.
Yeah.
Masculine, feminine. Then you get the Star of David, and that's what it means. It's a symbology of the masculine and feminine in balance. But they've hijacked the symbol for themselves, and they called it Israel, and they called it the Star of David. It's got nothing to do with David or the Star of David. It's not their symbol. Because the parasites steal everything from the ancients. You know, the people, the cheaters who cheat are super egos. They're just false selves because they can't take it. They have to cheat in order to win. But the thing is, when they cheat, they can never win because the moment they cheat, they haven't really got the wisdom of the tree of life. They haven't really got it. So they've really lost it, if that makes sense. It's such a irony that people people try to kind of cheat. You can't cheat wisdom. It has to be earned. It's a rite of passage. It's the hero's journey. And you know, for us to win, not win again, it's not the word win, it's just to overcome this satanic / evil system, this matrix, the demiurge, right? You know, we've got to be so conscious that we can read the source code and then we write our own story and not go on the default predestined program that we were meant to be on. Because you know, there is a predestined program each one of us is on. And that's called karma, and it's called suffering, and it's called delusion. And most people are on that program. It's predestined, it's coded. When are you going to step out? See beyond the veil, the evil, the veil, another anagram for evil, veil. See beyond it and see that, hold on, I can write the code. I'm going to write my own code now because I'm conscious of it. I'm a conscious now. I'm conscious of my own consciousness. I know that behind these eyes that are observing the world outside is the creator. It's already seeing through my eyes. When I still my mind, when I still it from thought, I know it's watching. The infinite is watching through my eyes. And I'm no longer Amed. I'm no longer identifying with Amed.
Yeah.
And that's how you get to the soul, because
Mm.
the child is never thinking of itself,
Mm.
in a sense, it's aware of its body.
Mm.
When it scratches and when it falls and bumps its knee, it cries. Of course, natural. That's what happens. Pain, makes you do that. It's a release of energy. So, but the child is always in that state of play. They always love playing. You'll never see them bored. They are never bored.
No, I mean, yeah.
And if they're
just,
bored, that's because of the parents.
yeah. I mean, just to add on to that, actually, the other day, I went down to the harbour again. I was walking down there, and as soon as I was there, I was like, this, knowing that that's my real home, and it's like my playground. And I didn't even think about it. I was just walking along. I saw a feather. I saw this feather and I just picked it up without even thinking about it. And I was just like looking at the feather and observing the patterns of the feather. I haven't done that for quite a while. It's almost like it's a surprise to myself, So that's just something I wanted to say.
But children, lovely, because that's what children do. They pick up things, they look at things. Everything is beautiful in the world outwardly, because everything is beautiful inwardly in them. Because they realize they're a child of God. They're a child of that source. Whatever you want to label it as, And that is the real message here. Heal your inner child, heal the inner trauma. If you don't face that, if you don't go to that, you'll never learn what love is. Because as long as we hate ourselves, we can never truly love. If there's aspects of ourselves that we suppress, that we're not even allowing ourselves to investigate in ourselves, then we're not truly loving. And everything then is just a contract and a trade, just like the mercantile laws that we live under in this, in this crazy system matrix. And this is the thing, we have to go back to the natural law, to nature. And it comes back to nature. We talk a lot about nature as well, don't we? So it's about going back to that. So just to kind of finish off on another quote here. And this is from Wilhelm Reich. Love is the absence of anxiety. And the other quote is, I know that what you call God really exists, but not in the form you think. God is primal cosmic energy, the love in your body, your integrity, and your perception of the nature in you and outside of you. Wilhelm Reich, from the book Listen, Little Man. Again, we're quoting the works here, so you can go and read it yourself and research this stuff, because it's important. If you're not understanding it here, go and read it yourself. Make your own notes. Study it like you're in school. We have to become self-educators, educators to ourselves. If we're not self-educated, we are powerless. The pen is mightier than the sword, but you can't have a mighty pen without doing your studies, to undo the false mechanisms they've taught us in school and in the program.
Yeah, and another way to look at it is, people think about the sword, but what about the shield? The shield.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, the shield is there as a form of defense, and the shield, and the shield can also be used as a weapon, ironically. So it is actually the shield. But again, it's the shield is also the womb. The sword is also the phallic, right? Again, it's the dualities. No shield without the sword, no sword without the shield. They both have to be working together to embody the warrior. To embody the hero. Right? To embody the hero. And it's really, really important that we recognize these myths and symbologies as well. And again, it comes back to what Wilhelm Reich was saying. Love is the absence of anxiety. So if you have anxiety, there is a lack of love, right? And that happens. I mean, look, I've been there. Yeah, this is not putting out on anybody that's listening, by the way.
I'll say that I'm going for that process. So if for people that are listening, I'm going for that process, and Amed knows that. So
yeah, well,
we've been talking behind the scenes, so we know about that.
Thank you for sharing, brother. Very, very courageous of you to share that about yourself.
I just want, I just want people to know that. So
yeah, thank you, Kelvin. I honor that in you, brother. That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've been there, that anxiety, and it's ruined my life. It really has. It ruined my life, and you know, and that is because there's no love. There's no love in the self anymore. And we're always looking outside ourselves to find that validation and that love. Do you think a child doesn't love itself? Of course it does. It loves itself so much. That's why it's able to love you so much. You know, because the love of a child is so pure, because it's uncorrupted. And that is the light. That is the real light.
Yeah.
You know, that is the real light of the divine. When I look at a child that's innocent and it's got all that light and life in its eyes, in their eyes, whether it's a boy or girl, you know, and this is why these enemies of life are so obsessed with children and the child sacrifices. And I want to cover the child sacrifice thing another time, because people don't realize that it's actually going in front of their faces. They don't even have to do it in cloak and dagger style, but people don't realize it's actually happening in front of them. And we've got to take down the cabal and take down this pedophile network and all this. I'll tell you what, it's getting played out right in front of your faces. If you're not seeing it, you're missing the whole show. It's right in front of you. You don't even have to go and look anywhere. It's right in front of you, playing day in, day out. Anyway, I don't want to digress, because our subject matter here is
that could be left for another.
And this is a bit of a darker aspect, but again, we have to look into the darkness, shine the light on the darkness, because only through that can we finally find God, find the divine within as without, and really embody a true authentic life without any you know, without any form of harm or evil done to our brothers and sisters, so we can really live a great life, all of us. There's no reason why we can't. The resources are there. The technology has always been there. It's just been suppressed, and it will always resurface. But people don't have faith. They don't have trust in the fact that that is even a possibility. How are we going? Don't look at it. I mean, did David not defeat Goliath? All it takes is a single stone to the head, to the weak point. And that is the thing we're exposing here, by the way. This is the weak point. This is their weakness. Because once you become conscious and aware, then you are the Trinity. You are the Neo. You're writing the code. Yeah.
This is it. And, you know, just to add on to that again, you know, it's like I mentioned about the anxiety earlier, you know, but, you know, what I do want to say is that the anxiety, I don't look at it as, oh, it's a really bad thing. And I'm actually looking at it as a good thing. You know, it's all, so, you know, this is the problem, you know, we get, or I have done in the past, looked at it in a very negative way, but actually now I'm glad, because without that, you know, the dark, as you say, you know, it has to serve its purpose, you know, because that very thing is serving its purpose to do the change within me. And I'm choosing to look inwardly to work through all these things. So I'm really, really grateful for that. Really grateful for that.
I'm grateful for you doing it, because, you know, then it's also, you know, this healing can't be done on your own.
No.
Again, people think that healing is done on their own. It doesn't happen on your own. It's done with others. It's done with speaking. You know, you feel lonely because the only reason you feel lonely, even though you're surrounded by many people, is because none of those people understand you, and you can't talk about the things you actually really care about, and they really don't want to get you anyway. You know, they just want to play out the stereotypes, the Matrix, right? Go to the football on Sunday, you know, do all this, go to the distractions in the fairground, and not deal with the deeper issues. So you can actually live a better life, a better quality of life without the anxiety there.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, how beautiful that our bodies were created so that when something's not right, we have something called anxiety, like you said, to be grateful for it. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, can't we also just appreciate that? Like you said, I love how you appreciated the anxiety, because yes, absolutely, like appreciate that anxiety. It's telling you to start working and loving yourself again, because you're not loving yourself right now. That's what the anxiety is telling you.
And the dreams that I had as well, because that was telling me, you know, about the two feminine dreams that I had, you know, two women in my dreams, you know, and that again, you know, I think from you talking with your last podcast, she talked about that when you have a dream, you see a woman in your dream, it usually means about getting in touch with the feminine side, because it's more about your feelings again, reconnecting with those feelings.
The anima and the male.
And yeah. And I know that that's something that I'm slowly gaining bit by bit, little by little. It's gradually coming there. So that's a good thing. Yeah,
amazing,
so, yeah.
brother. Amazing. And this is the thing for us men, we have to really integrate the anima, the inner feminine, because you know, she is the muse. She is the one that loves, you know. She is the one that feels. And the animus is the one that's the father. That's the you know, the anima is the inner mother. It's the muse. And that's why, you know, people that project their anima onto their partners never have healthy relationships, because they're looking for it outside. They're looking for the anima outside themselves. The males, and then the animus for females. They're looking for the animus outside. You know. So yeah, it's all to do with that self-love, and it's a journey. It's a journey. And you know, please, for our viewers, read into these books, read into these great people mentioned here. You know, do I agree with everything they're saying? No, because we've come further along since then to understand our psychology better. And there's people that have built on the Jungs and the Wilhelm Reichs and so on. But these are the foundations, the Melanie Kleins, you know, the Anna Freuds, the you know, people. I mean,
but
again,
I mean, but even me and you, we're talking this stuff here. Aren't we sharing our experiences and our own psychology as well? Absolutely. And hopefully that may help other people. You know, this is what it's about, isn't it? You know, it's about me going through my experiences with all the psychology, so that I can share that. And that's my hope, is that I'll be able to give something in very layman's terms, and not all these fancy, complicated words and all of that. So that's what I, you know, want to be able to do. But for the human family, you know,
absolutely,
share our experiences, and hopefully help other brothers and sisters out there. So
thank you so much, Kelvin. You're doing great work. I mean, this is what we're here. You know, I'm happy that I can share this with you, because it helps me intellectualize it less and simplify it better. You know, because the more we simplify things, the easier it is for people to save people. Even like, if they can just get from this talk that we've had tonight, go away and look into your childhood, where at that point did your mom or your dad, say most likely your mom, right, win the fight, and you became a slave to her. I'm not saying that dads don't, because I've had my issues with my father as well. You know, it's the same thing. It's like, you also, men have to also have that fight with their fathers. If their fathers are toxic and they're bullies, that's the dragon fight for the male. But mostly, from my understanding, it happens mostly with the mothers towards their children, terrible mothers. Because even the mother doesn't stand up to the tyrant father is just as tyrannical, because she is the last line of defense for the child. So the child grows up neurotic, So don't think that because the mother's good, that she's
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
good. Because if she's allowing that sort of treatment to go under her house and not addressing it, or she's already attracted that kind of male in her life in the first place. And for that to be an acceptable man to father her children, and what does it say about the woman that chose that male to begin with? And please don't try and scapegoat.
Oh, man.
Please don't try and scapegoat with patriarchy, because I'm so over that. Please don't scapegoat with that. Don't blame the patriarchy. Don't blame anything. You are to blame, woman, for choosing your, just as the men are. I'm not, but again, I'm talking about the importance of the mother, the role of the mother, and only women can solve this problem, by the way. I'm only addressing it. How this is going to be solved amongst womankind is down to the women. They have to organize and start talking about these issues, because without addressing them, we are raising a generation of neurotics, psychotics, and dysfunctional children that will grow up to be maybe even more dysfunctional, given the amount of poisons that are increasing day by day through the chemtrails, through the waxies, the vaccinations, and so on and so forth. And the food and GMs, and the list goes on. They're attacking the human mind left, right, and center. So, you women have to really, and this is what Michael Tsarion talks about, women have to sort this problem out, because only woman can solve the female problem.
Yeah,
we're there to support them as men. We're there to support them.
Absolutely. And it's a bit like in the film The Matrix. I can show you the door, but you're the one who has to walk through it. That's it. Well, this is it. We can give them keys, but they have to take the key and use that, to open that door, and do like you were saying, the research for themselves and all of this.
And
it's all out there to be discovered.
It's all out there, and the work. And look at these great female psychologists. They have done they've already setting the foundations out there for you, ladies. And cannot recommend the Dragon Mother enough as well, because it's a culmination of all the greats that Michael's spent diligently throughout his life writing this book and getting to the crux of the problem in the mind control programs. And the mind control issue that we have, because it's all mind, all is mental. Our ancestors knew this, So, why is the symbol of the ether the fifth element, the element that completes all the four elements of nature?
Yes.
And that is the mind. The ether is the mind. And if we don't have this fixed, everything else is ruined. Everything in the body is ruined. So we have to address this. So
becoming the master of our own house.
Absolutely. So I mean,
wow. What a conversation it's been tonight.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure.
I've really enjoyed it tonight. Really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to our next conversation. And thanks once again for coming and sharing what you shared tonight. It's always an honor to have you here, brother. And
thank you so much, Kelvin.
I love you deeply, and I just hope that the listeners will get something out of this tonight and stuff. So I think we should think about wrapping things up now. Is there anything you just want to add before we decide to end this podcast?
I think we've covered quite a bit, and we've referenced quite a few people for people to check out. I know you'll be referencing the Dragon Mother YouTube channel link down below in your description. I will hopefully do I will do a trailer, because I want people to come to your channel. This is where all the talks that I'll be doing with Kelvin, because I don't want Planetary Intelligence to be the Amed show. So, but at least here at Heart of the Matter.
Vice versa. That works for both of us.
So this is where I like to come with you, Kelvin, and talk about these things and simplify things as well, because you help me do that, and I appreciate you so much. And is there anything I can add? Not really. I think the takeaway message again, and I'll keep repeating it, take a moment out in your life you know, take a walk in nature on your own, and try and just get to that point of where did that pain happen as a child in you, because you are your own best psychologist. Nobody can be your you know, you are the alchemist, you are the psychologist, you are the divine. So only you can fix yourself. Nobody else can do it for you. Like Kelvin said, we can only show you the door, but you're going to have to walk your way through it. And you know, it's the same thing. We can only give you the tools, but it's how you use those tools in your unique circumstances in your life to heal yourself by using these tools. And they have worked for me, and they are working for you, Kelvin. And we just hope that our brothers and sisters can you know, take this offering and use it for themselves too, to empower themselves.
Well, thank you once again. And yeah, just want to say thank you to the listeners out there, and much love goes out to all of you. And yeah, we look forward to you catch us in about a month's time for another chat.
Look forward to it, Kelvin.
Yeah, and my love goes out to you. Much love, brother.
All right,
and,
much love.
Yeah, look, yeah, you take care. Bye.
Bye.